All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for showing up to this Legal Shield and Field Notes webinar for the Thursday, 16th of February. So today, I don't have much planned other than I just wanted to maybe either talk about maybe emails. I'll leave it open if anybody has something that they'd like to discuss, anything that they've have a challenge and that they'd like to maybe talk amongst a group.
Actually, I have a few questions I want to just throw out there, and maybe we just like two or three. And
Yeah.
then maybe if anybody's interested in just giving a quick little summation, I'm curious what emails everyone is using for pre-cancels, for birthdays, right? Those seem to be the two biggest. And if you're also reaching out to people who have canceled, maybe a while back, so they're no longer in pre-cancel mode. So just that whole conversation around what emails you use, and then best practices for how you're getting data on a monthly basis out of PPLSI or LS Engage and Legal Shield at Work, if you're using one or the other. I don't know, but that would be interesting to me because I've just added a whole bunch of data to field notes, contacts, and groups, and I'm getting ready to add associate data. So I just would love if anybody has a quick, tip, please share.
Absolutely. So you were talking about emails that we have for pre-canceled. Do we have any pre-canceled in the library? Does anybody? Here we do. Remember pre-cancel. All right.
So Soraya, we invited you because you were supposed to bring that.
Okay, I'll get started.
And ice.
Great.
Like a potluck. I'll bring the chili. So let's look at this one. This is the Legal Shield. This is CDLP. And then this is pre-cancel continuation coverage, Legal Shield, ID Shield, continuing coverage. These seems short. Looks like it has some tags utilized. So
take your place. Can you blow that up bigger?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
You bet, for both of us.
For everybody. All right. So we got Mary.
Thank you.
We got this newcomer. Glad that she was able to show up. All right. So we've got, looks like that could probably use some. So if you guys got Grammarly on your computer, you'll see that there might be some things that it adds, but feel free to, this would be saving it for myself. So I'll have to make that edit inside the other platform. So looks like we do have some prospect. Where's these?
That's great.
This is a follow-up text as well. So you could, if you wanted to kind of turn that into an action plan, so it is a email, then a text, and then stagger them out, and then you can fire off. That could be something that you could do as well. And then what does this say? Just take a look. Email. Okay, so it's just pointing somebody to the email.
So Soraya, here's my question for you. How for your pre-cancels, how many steps do you take to get them?
Okay, you just froze up.
To sign up once they've left their.
Well, I don't have any statistics that I can share with you on that. In fact, that was one of my questions, is if you've had any success with this, with actually having a campaign. We have not done a formal campaign. I don't know if my computer is slow.
Planning one was one of my objectives. I haven't done it yet, but I would certainly want to continue in that realm and continue just like I would with any of my clients, whether they were group or otherwise, to talk about just in general, the value that their plan can bring to the table. and until they say stop, obviously, but
Mhm.
yeah,
And,
it
and I
would
think
be, yeah.
I think a good thing about the service, right, is they can add it and discontinue it and put it back on. And so putting them on a drip campaign that slowly just kind of drips information on them, it's not harmful, right? At some moment, they might say, oh, I got in an accident. Oh, now I really could use this again. Oh, let me just, get to one of those emails, get to one of those texts, find the info, and then, get back into the swing of things. And so,
That's a little problematic, Jeremy, because basically you're wanting them to be able to transfer the form of payment so that they, at this point in time, keep the same rates they had with their employer. I mean, that may or may not change in the future, but right now they can keep the same rates as they had at work. If you start having people, come back 45, 60 days later, that doesn't hold true anymore. So you've got to be really careful about getting them
but that can be
to,
said I mean, that's good information to know the second they pre-cancel, right? It's informing them of that. And then later on, if you did a pre-cancel kind of action plan 45 days, 50, 60 days later, you could say, we apologize, right? You won't be able to get, or you can within that time frame kind of be like, hey, you've got 30 days to kind of still keep the price. You got 20 days to keep the price, 10 days to keep the price. And you're just kind of just helpfully, trying to remind them of that. And then if they go past that, hey, sorry, we can't, hold the price, but you're still willing to take advantage of the benefits, and then just kind of, you know, maybe that might sway them, or they just don't care. But at the end of the day, as long as they don't unsubscribe from your stuff, then, you know, you can still kind of send them things, I would assume.
Yeah, and obviously it would only apply to those who did give you their personal information as opposed to their company email address in the case of somebody leaving the company. So
And that's another thing you guys can build is an action plan for people that sign on, right? That you periodically ask them for their personal information just in case, to explain, that this may happen for whatever reason you leave the company and you'd like to keep your benefits. As long as you guys are like preaching it in the beginning strong so that they at least have some knowledge of it, then I guess the drip campaigns will just serve as, just trying to chime in every once in a while and try to get them to move forward or not. You know what I mean? But just like a reminder, I would say. But
I just don't think the email is as important as the cell phone number.
because I think that texting seems to be the way. And I know that I've done that. And a couple of people have reached out to me and said, because you can unsubscribe, you can stop.
mhm,
So I've had a couple of people that I have sent just reminders that they are in pre-cancel, and if they would like to continue the services, to, let me know. And I've gotten, people to basically say, stop sending me information. So it gives me an idea of whether I want to continue, obviously, trying to get them to re-engage.
If they say stop on the email, or stop on the text message, does Sparky pick that up as a unsubscribe?
yes, it should show up, like over the contact where it shows like the little
Yeah,
doesn't want to
okay.
receive text messages anymore.
It just that made me think about, I haven't gone back and checked those, but I was assuming that worked that way. I just hadn't verified.
What I have, what I have, what I've heard, right? Because before it used to not do the emails. I don't know if that's what you were going to mention, Rick, but that's something that they should have corrected. And so if an
Okay.
email does, but what I learned was regardless if it doesn't show in the system or not, and the customer did select unsubscribe, our third-party service blocks it anyways. So in the event that our system was stuck on stupid and might have accidentally sent it would get blocked on that end, because obviously they don't want to put themselves in trouble, right?
So if they unsubscribe or put stop in a text message, either way, that's gonna unsubscribe them in the system.
Correct. That's going
Okay.
to unsubscribe them. So
I
if you,
think, Jeremy,
Yes, sir.
you may want to check on that, because if that would be true,
uh-huh.
if anybody sent me back a text message that had the word stop in it, that would shut them off, even though that wasn't their intention. So I've never heard of a system that reads the text message and based on what's said in the text message stops a text message from, shuts them down.
Okay, run that by
See
me
what
one more time. So you're saying that if somebody said,
I
just
was gonna
use this
stop
thing
by
as-
your house, but you weren't home.
that
I-
you say that
I've
it,
heard of a system that's gonna pick stop up in a text message
I don't
and
think that's the,
unsubscribe them, and I think that's what Cassie's trying to get clarified.
is that what you're asking, Cassie?
Well, I'm just, in this case, I've seen a couple of text messages and not many, but I've seen a couple of text messages come through that somebody has said stop.
Uh-huh.
So they're obviously trying to unsubscribe or saying they don't want to receive communication any longer.
Mhm.
So I assumed when I saw that Sparky would automatically flag that contact as a do not contact.
Prior to, I think like a couple of weeks ago, when I think that problem came up with Rick, if I'm not correct. I took that to them and it wasn't something that would do. They told me it would happen in the back end regardless. And then they said that they would make a fix to that so that it would do that, because that's not something in which the system was kind of set for it. So that was that. I have yet to test it to see if it's worked. They usually kind of throw me up little, hey, this was fixed, and I haven't seen that, but that's what they've told me. So regardless if you don't do it yourself, like you see the message stop, go to the customer, and then stop whether if it was email or text message, but it should be doing that. So I'll look into
So, but what I'm trying to understand is regardless of the channel, text or email, that a client opts out, it will automatically opt them out of both channels. That's what I'm really trying to understand.
No, if it comes through a text message, it's a text message. If they do it through the email, then that's through the email.
So in
then
order
when they click
for them to be opted out of both, they have to opt out of both channels.
Correct. One with the unsubscribe link,
Uh-huh.
and then one by either sending stop.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the word stop. So if
stop.
stop just appears in a sentence, it's not going to catch that. It's got to be just the word stop.
Lowercase, uppercase,
Just the single word.
single word
Just
stop.
single word stop. Yeah. Yeah. So if they say, I really wish you would stop sending me these darn text messages. Are you stupid?
Too bad.
It's like, oh,
Wait, you're gonna get
yeah,
another one.
I'm stupid.
Yeah. So it has
The
to be
next
just that
message
one.
will be, yes, we're stupid because you sent us too many words.
Yes,
Correct,
right.
Now, if you did see that come through, because you should be notified of that, then if you want to interpret that as, oh, maybe I should stop this person, then feel free to do so. One thing I learned from the real estate agents is every time one guy would see that, he would rush to call the people. And he told me that about 3 out of 5 people he was able to turn. There was some old ladies that were clicking on stuff that they had no idea what they were clicking when it came to emails. And so sometimes it's just a mistake. Sometimes they said, yeah, I don't like to get emails. I don't like it, but it's not that I'm not interested. Just go ahead and give me a call and, let's do that. So then that's where I would say use the preferred communication.
I would say check the date of birth and decide which path to go down based on the date of birth.
True.
Yeah.
Right. If this is going to be a more continuing problem, but at the end of it, I mean, you guys are different from real estate agents and that kind of stuff. But for him, anytime there was any type of movement within these accounts, he would just go after the people, and then that's who he would call and then talk and find out. And he said he would just find a lot of people he would be able to, turn the conversation and have a chance to speak to them. So it was just something.
Well, I had a funny one because a birthday message went out to somebody who must have opted out of an email, but got a birthday message. And like they were no longer employed at the company. I forget what the deal was, but they were obviously still in the database. They got a happy birthday message, which to me, like, that's a pretty benign sort of like, no harm, no foul sort of thing. And he replied to the text message and said, was sort of like, how dare you send me a birthday message? I don't work there anymore. And like, I don't want to hear from you. So like, I started to say like, so sorry, but like, I thought, well, he clearly doesn't want to hear from me. So like, I'm not going to even say sorry, and it was hilarious. I'm like going, really, dude? Okay.
Yeah. Right. It's not even Christmas yet. Wow.
So have a lousy birthday. See if I can.
Yeah, really.
Right. Yeah. There's services that you can send people dog feces, right? With nice little letter, nice little $5. He might be one. He might be one for those.
He might be worth it. Yeah. There you go.
So let's say you wanted to do a little action plan with any of these pre-cancels, emails, text messages. Let me, if it's okay, I'll just kind of.
Before you go there, Jeremy, if I can interject a question, because I want to make sure that I understand correctly. When it comes to text messages, we have a back-end system, and then we've got our field notes database. Okay. And in the case of somebody that says stop, the back-end system, which we don't have any visual access to, we don't see that, but it says, okay, you may try and send a text message to Bob, but I'm not going to do it. You're not going to know it, but I'm not going to do it. And then we've got our visual indicator in field notes that tells us if somebody is unsubscribed or doesn't want to hear from emails or from text messages. But in the case of text messages, those are two separate systems, and they're not necessarily they could be out of sync. In other words, the back-end system could be not sending those messages. We wouldn't know it. And our field notes database wouldn't necessarily tell us that. Is that correct?
So the third party, they
the back-end system.
Yeah, but it's I mean, I guess you can say it. Yeah, it's a back-end system. I get to see.
Okay, we'll call it third party. I'm okay with that.
But no. So what they've explained to me is that if the person through that system checked stop or hit unsubscribed, right, they would block it, because then they would be kind of liable if it continued to happen, if our system was messed up for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's set in place. Now, what's not in sync with our system is that when they say stop, that it comes over here and it checks the little button so that it's a visual for you, right? That's the little
something
disconnect at the moment.
Could be disconnected, yes.
But you still get the message that says stop. So that message saying stop is telling you, okay, now I need to go through, and so if you're not staying on top of the messages.
Like in the case of the realtor that turned them, certainly with an email message, I think it operates differently. So it's easy enough to just say, okay, I'll go ahead and send them email. But in the case of a text message, since the third-party system has already said, I'm not going to send this person messages anymore, it would be up to the customer to do something. The question is, what would they have to do in order to resume?
To start the messages back. I have yet to ask the developers what that might be. So
okay.
Jeremy, can you just bring up a contact so you can show people where they would see
this
on that contact, the fact that somebody had opted out?
In responses, here or in the dashboard are you going to see at the bottom messages, right? So most likely either from here or from you going to here, which takes you to responses, you can current week, last month, year to
Oh,
date,
yeah, no.
all, right? So this is so that you can at least find the text messages so that you can see who said stop to me, right? So
But
this
no, I
is
was talking about the
right.
actual contact
No,
card.
correct. That was just one place so that you see the
Oh,
incoming messages that say stop, right? So then that way you can then go to the person for the time being and go ahead and click. But now I will show you where that is. And it is these two little checks. We'll zoom it in a little bit. So if I were to check this, it will go kind of in red and it will take the calling and the SMS away, but you will see you'll still be able to send this person an email.
Yeah. And there's only one box to check that covers both calling and texting. So it's not like, don't text me. You can call me, but don't text me. There's not a separation there. Just
Right, because
so
there is because the third party is the same service.
right.
I'm assuming they're the liability of then you calling them from here, that's going to get them in trouble, opposed to you
Right.
picking up your own cell phone and saying, hey, that guy couldn't ever, unless he took your phone and then blocked it personally, then that's
Yeah.
the other.
but
But
I don't see where you've deleted the email also. So am I missing something? So you've got the phone, you've got,
I mean, you can check both of them. So now you'll see that
okay,
none of these are
okay.
available, but yeah.
Question, Jeremy.
Mhm.
I know when you send somebody an email, you're identified as the person who's sending it. You, the person, is identified. But when you're texting somebody using this system, this third-party system, does it show up as from uh, me or just from the system? I mean, is my name going to be on there or?
I don't think so. I think it's just a phone number that comes in.
So they won't know who it is. They won't know it's like Soraya. Won't say from Soraya.
It won't say, I know, I
Unless
don't
you
think there's any,
unless you
But
put
it'll
it
be
in the
the phone
message.
number that you pick. So
you do
you
have
pick your,
signatures, right? You do have an auto signature that you could use at the moment. So
Sure,
when
but
it's checked, then
but
yes.
if you so when you're texting, the only identification then obviously is the signature. Okay, thanks.
Is the signature now that does lead to a good question, right? Is there something on our end in which we can submit? And that's something that I just haven't asked the developers on that side. It might be that that we can, right? Or that we can
I-
set up something that takes kind
yeah,
of
that'd be great.
like your team name and then uses that and associates that with the number. But
I
I
was
don't know
just
how that
thinking,
works.
yeah, I was just thinking, okay, if people are going to be using this system for calling, right? And we're all using the same system, is it all just showing up as a number that says unknown, right? So, or does it say our name when we call on that phone number using your system? So that's
That's a
just a
good question.
question.
No, that's a good question. What I do know is if you did use the call service, you can record a voice message so that if they did call it and and you didn't pick up, it could go to a voice message. I do know about that. But that's extra. But about the just in general, over the text message, does a name come out? Nope.
Cassie,
Yeah,
you use that a lot, don't you? So what does it, do you just identify yourself in the body of the text?
Yes, but I was actually going to look at, like one of the notes to see if I could see.
So we get text messages from Jackie. Do you guys recall those? Let me just see which one.
Yeah, I was looking to see if I could
Text
find one in my plethora of messages.
how it comes in is
So
just
the
phone
one,
number up at the top, and then it has the information, and then I have Jackie's signature is how I
yeah,
have.
that's all I get. So it's a mobile number that obviously does not have her name.
Or anything
And
else.
until you open it up, you don't see that it's from her.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And
Soraya, were
and
you thinking if that when something went out, it would have your company name on it, or
I wasn't even sure, to be honest, at this point. I'm just asking the question because I'm going to be getting ready to send this, right?
Mhm.
So I want to make sure I'm prepared. Obviously,
Absolutely.
I'll do some testing as well, but
I
thank you.
always test all this stuff on Paul.
Yes, yes, yes. Signing up, Steve. I've also said if you wanted, you can always add me, and you can always send me stuff, and I have no problem, just looking at what you've read, or if you want me to reply, things like that,
Thank
so that you
you.
guys get the feeling of it.
Thanks.
Use me as a dummy if you wish. And so
Thank you.
absolutely. What I also do is tell people to create a group, people who have iPhone, Samsung, Apple, different devices. And then that way you can kind of just, if you got a couple of kids, you just kind of sign them up, and then you just send stuff to them and you go, here, give me your phone. All right, looks good. You know what I mean? But that's what I've told other people to do, so that they can continue to test their stuff, because I've seen that. Well, now that I use a lot of tables kind of just rigidly just makes the format kind of stick to where you want it. But if you didn't, sometimes each email would look weird and be over
Mhm.
here or to the left. And so tables will help you with that if that's the case. What is it I wanted to show? Oh, I wanted to do just a quick little demo of putting an action plan together. The good thing of having things and starting and creating things in templates is that when you go to create yourself sorry, not a folder, we want a action plan. So we'll do pre-cancel, and we'll just go ahead and hit save. So now we have our pre-canceled, and we're going to start with activities. So you can start with either a text. Well, let's probably go with the email, because of the way that the text message says, and then you can put subject, pre-cancel, or you can do a nice little header, did you know? And so here, you want to pick your template, and then we can basically have access to all of the templates. Not only do we have the library, but we have all your templates. And I think that one was in this library under pre-cancel default. So because we're looking at an email, we're only going to see email. So I'll do the ID Shield first. Let's see here. The only thing that I would say, because some smart tags are not as you have them tagged in your system, right? So that's what you just want to make sure that these have is your smart tags. And so you'll see group number. Let me see if I have. See, so these ones are labeled just a little bit different, right? So that's the only thing that I would, nope, this one looks good. I would just quickly review that just so that you know that you have the correct tags, because in some cases, since you can change them, it will change everything. And so given that this is correct, this is good as well, we can basically save this. So because this is the first email that's going out, not sure if you want to set like delay the trigger, but you could do that here. So you could put 1 day, or you can do minutes and hours. So, and that's from the trigger. So there's always like 2 triggers. The one that starts the action plan completely, and then there's the ones that are connected to each email, right? So for this one, we can simply just say send now. If you did want to do send now, but you wanted to do it at 10 a.m. in the morning, you would want to save it like this so that you have 0 days. It's going to start immediately, but it will start at a specific time. So just be careful with that, because if you're going to be the manual trigger, then if you do it at 1 o'clock, it's still it should send it because it's still within the 24 hours. But to keep any kind of confusion out, you might as well just start with send now on the first one. So, but then again, there's multiple ways to skin the cat. This would be the email. If you needed to put any CC yourself, if you wish to be kind of notified, you could do that. So we can actually just hit more and save. And now we have our first due 0 days after the trigger. And then now we can set up the text message one. And we can pick template. Let's go to our library. Member pre-cancel. Default. And this is the FU text, which is follow up. And owner, first name, legal shield, ID partner. And this is, and then at email. Okay, so this is confirming that you had sent it to the right email. Another thing with sending out text messages, this will tell you how many characters it is. This will tell you how many text messages it will be sent in. So you always want to kind of try to keep it within 1, 2. Sometimes I've tried to take the email and put it into here, and then I'll end up with like 8 different text messages. So just be careful. Kind of summarize things. And then here you can set up the text to do a couple of things. You can either set it up after the last activity, which was the email. So then now you can do either days, hours, or minutes. Or if you wanted to do a specific time, you'll have that. And or if you wanted to pick after a specific activity. So there's just different options. If you have more options and like, let's say it was like 23 different activities, I tend to like this one a little bit just because it labels all of the different activities and then you can kind of just go from there. Just a little easier way of setting up the trigger. And so we can, which one should we do? Let's do this one. Let's do 20 minutes after the last activity. So now we have that action plan. We can go to trigger plan. So this is how we can trigger it, right? Let's say you wanted to use a sphere. Essentially, we just have to make sure, and this is why I like to have multiple pages open, so I can stay here and go do what I really want to do, which is add a sphere or take a look at my spheres. All right, so pre-cancel. So we got a pre-cancel. So now that I know that we have a pre-cancel, let's see. Let's go find the trigger, which would be, so email's not empty, phone's not empty. That's a good thing to have because that means that they will get it. And then let's go look for spheres and has values. And we check pre-cancel, save the condition. We can now close. Let me go ahead and refresh. Go back to trigger. And so now we've got it. So if we run this, curious to see how many people we have already with pre-cancel, because then I'm going to start sending out emails to people that I don't want to get it. So let's look for sphere. Pre-cancel. Fly. Beautiful. Nobody set with the pre-cancel. So you would want to run this continuously. So now that you have this running continuously, at any moment you find somebody that, let's go look for myself. Reset all filters. Jeremy, where are you at? There he is. So let's go to edit. Find my sphere. Pre-cancel. So by doing this, you'll see that the action plan is going to slowly pick up on that I just did this. And let's take a look. And so it can take about 10 to 5 minutes for the job to kind of get picked up. And then I'm going to start getting emails. Let me see if that was. Oh, I think that might be. No, sorry, Bob. Other people. All right. So any questions as to putting the action plan together? I know I possibly maybe did it too quick. I don't know if I needed to go slower or if I just kind of breezed through it or if I made it look simple, but it is that simple in basically putting them together. That's why I like to do the templates, possibly create a folder and then put everything related into that folder just to kind of keep things organized, but then start to go in there one by one and start adding them, kind of building it. And then if you later on wanted to kind of decide what triggers and kind of fine tune it, that's what I find people doing. They'll kind of set it up and then use it, and then they'll start to fine tweak it. Basically, sometimes if you see a lot of people opting out, it could be that the frequency is too soon, right? So you do the email, the text, the email, the text, the email, the text. That could be too rough for people. And so if you find yourself like a bunch of people just stop, 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 maybe you put a day or two in between, or maybe a couple of more hours or something like that, right? So it's just they don't see it as a. But then again, I've built with a real estate agent like a 22 day, 7 day, sorry, 22 activity, 7 day. And in some cases, there's like 2 to 3 activities in one day, and she's not finding anybody opting out of it. So as long as,
Question, Jeremy. You added yourself to this plan, but you're not showing up under scheduled, right? Should you be on
Right.
here?
It's going to take a couple of minutes for the system to pick me up, and then there we go. So,
I see. So you
so
just had to refresh.
yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to talk a little bit, just because the system, like, so now this is continuous, right? So this is going to be just waiting for somebody to get this sphere added to them. At the moment that it happens, 5-10 minutes later, the system picks up on the change, and then you'll now see them scheduled. So then you will see this move from here. It will go into running, and based off of the activity, which is now, you'll see this, it throttles. The way that the jobs pick up, it's like every 10 minutes. We have been throttling and playing around with that in general, just to kind of hopefully reduce any type of spam. So maybe before, the way that the system was set up, it would just go gangbusters and just start busting out emails for people, which is a huge push. So now what they've done is so instead of have a bunch of emails just coming out all at once, they're doing like 50 to 100 emails per accounts, just to kind of spread it out every 10 minutes, just to make it less of a bulk, hit of emails, to reduce maybe some of the spam, kind of, because we're still getting people marking spam. Like I've said, I haven't seen a lot of people coming from Legal Shield. It's other people's in the company as well. So it's a group effort at the end of the day. But at the moment, if somebody spams you guys or says this is phishing or spam, we get a notification of that. And so we're trying to obviously look at that so that it doesn't affect everybody. But so yeah, so that's kind of how this will do. I mean, I guess if we fresh in another minute or two, we should see it kind of move into running.
So
And
Jeremy, I have a question. If it's set
Sure.
up like this and it says email is not empty and phone number is not empty, and the email that I have is through the company that they were working for, but it's no longer active, so it bounces. So let's say the email bounces. Will it still send the text, or does it because it says email's not empty, phone's not empty? If
No,
one
it should.
bounces,
It should send the text message.
the text.
Yeah. Now you will get a bounced, right? You'll get a bounced email
Right.
in your system. I highly suggest to go over to here and to either take that email out, put it into the notes and say, and then leave it blank so that you have that. But
then it would stop. Then that person would not get any more communication if I had it set up in a action plan like this, where it says both the email and the phone are not empty. If it looks at a contact and both of those are not empty, it will push this activity. But if one of them is empty, it just passes by it, right?
yes, it's not going to send them the email because there's no
Anything.
email. Right. No, it should send them the text message. It should continue to the text message.
But you don't want them sending the email because it's going to bounce anyway.
Right, but I guess my confusion is, I thought that when you did an action plan and you specified, I want this information to go out if, and here are the conditions, the email's not empty and the phone is not empty. So if I go in there and delete the email because it's bouncing, then wouldn't this look at that contact and say, well, this doesn't apply to this particular
because it no longer meets the
because
criteria.
the triggers aren't set properly, right?
Well, there's only one way to evacuate our doubts.
Or am I thinking about it wrong?
No, you're not. You're critical thinking.
That's the same logic error that we talked about the other day, Jeremy. Is it a logical and or a logical or? It says it's an and, but
you disappeared. I went to look for you.
I did. I was getting coffee, so I turned my screen off.
Let me find the pre-cancel save. So this is a gentleman that no longer has an email, right? We will let this sit for a bit. Okay, so now it looks like this is running. So from the time we started it, I wasn't paying attention to the time, but 5 or 10 minutes ago, and now it's into here. So let's see if this gentleman shows up. We should find out in just a moment, and that will definitely answer your question. Now, if the person doesn't have an email, you could want to possibly look at and create the list of who you're going to send it out that has emails, or create a pre-canceled where it would say pre-canceled email. So that's only for people who have emails, people pre-canceled text message, and it can be a campaign that's strictly text message. It informs them via text message, and then it also, follows up with them text message. So if you had where people didn't have, like where they moved away and they no longer are at the company and all you have is a valid phone number, well, then I would create an action plan strictly for those people, right? And then you can split them up by putting pre-canceled text or pre-canceled email.
Just set up 3 different action plans.
Create different campaigns, right? You would have one that's for the people that have both, ones that don't have emails that you want to go after them with text messaging. But yeah, so I guess in a perfect world, if everybody had both, you could just have one, keep it easy and simple. And then again, you could also go to the stats, right? You can see who got what, who didn't get emailed what, and then you could actually go back to those people and kind of find what's wrong with if their email address. Sometimes I've seen people, they'll get a message, the email won't go out, but it's an incorrect character, it's not spelled correctly, just
Mhm.
bad email, right? So sometimes it's not the system not sending to the person, it's that it's physically incorrect in the system. So I would take a look at it. Maybe, you know, when you guys were talking about stats, who opens Soraya, I guess this might be, once you start doing them, you can take a look and see what's the stats behind the activities. Like what are you seeing in regards to that shows up? I'm not sure what's causing. Okay, good. So nothing.
I tell you what, that's why the follow-up text message on the welcome email
Mhm.
has been so interesting for me because, you know, because I tell them this is the email where we sent your benefits information. I have found all kinds of, you know, errors in that email, and it's errors from they gave us the wrong email address. It got entered in the system wrong somehow, either by them or whoever entered the benefits information at their company. It was a reinstate, and when whoever processed the reinstate at corporate, they left the previous email from their previous employer in the system. I mean, like the number of ways that the email address has gotten jacked up makes my head want to explode.
Wow.
It's amazing. And the only way I've found it is because I've sent a text message saying, hey, you know, your benefits information was just sent to this email address.
Mhm. I have a question. So we have a welcome activity plan, welcome member activity plan, pre-cancel member activity plan, happy birthday activity plan, which probably is just one item. But, you know, I'm just wanting to get a sense of what are the different activity plans people have right now? Is it welcome and pre-cancel, or are there others that people are doing?
Where are you seeing that?
Best
If you look in the
practices?
library,
Mhm. I mean, right now, do you have multiple activity plans that you're using with email?
well, I think what we've done is, you know, if you look in the library and you see what's there, because like this is where we've tried to put together, you know, what are all the plans that everybody has been willing to share. So, you know, as far as different plans, follow up, so the library is kind of, there's some things in there for prospecting and DM meetings and enrollment and servicing. So and
If
so you can
anybody
look.
does have some ideas in which what's more information we can put into these, now that I'm able to not delete, but edit and create subfolders. So now we can actually start to put in a lot more information into this. I know you had sent me a file that had a bunch of Legal Shield PDFs and things like that. Now, maybe we need to have a meeting just about that, like what kind of information you guys find helpful to have into here so that you guys literally can, you know, sign up and start using these kinds of things, right? And so if
So
you
like
guys got
on group servicing, is there the 90, then, you know, your enrollment's coming up in the next 90 days? Is there, you know,
this is the one retention action plan split up into just one-off communications, right? So this is that action plan, the A, the B, this is the legacy, right? The
okay,
retention one.
so
If you wanted to,
okay, so that's the
but this is also an action plan, right?
right.
So let me see if we're, let me just curiously see if that
So
person.
that's the member welcome plan, but
Yep.
okay. So at any rate, I think the point is there are action plans and
Member retention.
and in the library there are all the templates and action plans that are there. Maybe we still need to do some scrubbing on that, but the point is
I
we're
would like
trying to
some
get all
insight.
that. organized in the library so that everybody can
helpful to have.
access it and use it.
Yeah. I would like to know what's helpful to have. So I guess,
Yeah.
Soraya, if you're curious of things like what's in the library, I'd like to maybe you could throw me a list of those things so that I could go and maybe try to find them. If not, get them added so that we can so that you guys can use them. Because I know the library is a highlight. You know what I mean? Saves
Yeah,
you
no,
guys
that
time.
was really helpful. Thank you. Yeah, Cassie, I really appreciate that.
Beautiful. So I think so what I did was I deleted the email, and I was curious to see if the other person would pop up. It's not. So that's something that I'm going to speak to the developers about a little bit more to get some more insight as to, because then if this is the case, then yes, you would have to create multiple different action plans for the people that have just specific information. It would cause you to have to filter that. And so for that,
Well, your criteria for creating two different action plans would be because you may have email for some but not phone numbers, or vice versa. And because it's the logic that's going to hit you. So, in my mind, I would just, even though it's part of the same action plan in my mind, I would have two action plans, one that's email and one that's text message.
and just
so
cut it on the
that
people,
Exactly.
just
So that
everybody at
whatever
once.
information I have, they get the right information. I know that if I was going to stagger the text message 3 days after the email, then that's just built right into the
To the action
logic.
plan. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes total sense. Total sense. And you could do a email pre-cancel similar to the one that we did, strictly email. And then you could use the same pre-cancel sphere to trigger both of those action plans. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
making it just
Something,
more, not having to
something
create
else.
two different. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, go
Kept
ahead.
trying to talk over you. It's
I see you. It's all you.
So that's what I do. Something else that I did almost right away, because in the beginning I was getting a lot of bad emails. And so I just created a template so that anytime I got a notification that an email bounced, I would automatically send out, just manually send out to that individual a text message that said, "Hey, Jeremy, I just sent you an email and it bounced." This is the exact wording, but I don't know what you did to booger it up, Jeremy, but you gave me the wrong email address. What's
Give me
the
correct.
real one? So
That's
words
good.
to that effect.
No, yeah. I mean that you guys at some level have to do something like that to kind of maintain the integrity of the information, right? So that you can definitely send people texts and send people emails. You just got to have the good. And if it's coming in from Legal Shield possibly wrong, right? And then you enter it wrong, and then you start using it wrong, you're only going to find it and when you start getting bounce backs and emails. And so that's when you should go in then start removing those people and getting those people out, so that, well, not get them out, but just get the, change the information and make the changes you need so that right?
Yeah.
So
I also just plugged into the chat a service that I use to let me know if a particular address really is emailable. And oddly enough,
emailable.com.
it's emailable.com. And that's very,
I
yeah.
use mail tester, and it would just give
Yeah,
you kind
there's,
of like but then again, you got to see what it's looking for and what it classifies
right.
as a good email, because sometimes it just like pings the server. And then
Right.
that's
Emailable
bug.
does a real good job of, they actually give you a percentage of the likelihood that that message is going to be delivered correctly. So,
Nice.
they'll look at things like, okay, does this, I'll ping the server. In other words, I go out and try and hit legalshield.com. Okay, so that's real.
Right.
And then it'll go further and try and say, like, if I were to send a text message to this, would you deliver it? And the email server will actually respond typically to queries like that from email systems. So that's what Emailable does.
I like that. I like that. Anything that can help you guys know who you're talking about. And then I do stuff that like so because I come from the gambling industry, and the casinos and online stuff.
We're gambling too.
Well, that's good. And no wonder we
Got
all
up this morning.
no wonder we always see eye to eye. So the thing that we would have to do is we would need to kind of know who the people are gambling. And so I would fish and go out there on the interwebs and start digging up profiles, and I would get emails to people, and then I would use the mail tester to know if I've got something, and then I would use that to go after people and try to bring people to the book and things like that. And so that's what I've done to kind of know that I have something live. And then in sales, we would use that as well, just to kind of know if I'm prospecting, looking after somebody, going on a profile that I see online, is this good, or is it just 20-year-old information that's not good? So that's good. I think I will have to sit down with the developers to kind of talk about this little feature. It doesn't look like the gentleman that I removed the email from. Doesn't look like, now that there is no emails, it doesn't look like it's still showing. And so I will play around with this a little bit more, maybe come back to what I find. I think I've already received the email. I just don't want to go to my inbox just to not show.
For the developers' sake, for that conversation, Jeremy, one of the things that they might want to think about doing, depending on how their logic is built and how easy it would be to do, but do just two separate trees in the logic. So if the email exists, then I can do this.
I see what you're saying.
But if the or if the phone number exists, do this, as opposed to having to put both of those things in there and decide based on that, are we going to do any of this work at all?
Right. Definitely something to talk about and to kind of play around with, so that they can make it a little bit more intuitive, hopefully to block us from having to create so many different specific kind of action plans.
That would make the action plans
just
100 times more flexible.
Yep. Totally. So
one last thing, because I just saw a note from Kathy Lucas, is on that podcast deal. Her feedback, and I know we're over, but just so you know, Jeremy, her feedback is that because that's not state specific, if we could develop some sort of communication where we could use that podcast and link that as a communication that people could use, that template for a note out, whether they use it in an action plan or, just in a standalone communication.
I think that's a good idea, right? Utilizing things like that. And I think there's plenty of stuff out there that exists, people talking about stuff. And it could be good and viable for you guys to find cool little things that you could possibly tie in and mix up the kind of communications you're sending to people, so that they just don't immediately think it's all work and no play, right? But if you give them a little bit of play in which they're like, wow, this is actually something that interested me, I sat, I listened, I took whatever I took from it, I know they'll treat you different, right? They'll at least respond to you, they'll climatize a little bit more. And I definitely think that's just something to mix up the Kool-Aid and not just always have it, just one business oriented information kind of thing, but if not something that. And so when it comes to those things, I have no problem. I'm just wondering, how do you want to format it? Because it has to be kind of formatted in a way which everybody can just come in, add their little spin to it, whatever they'd like to for their people, and then, ship it out. And so I did see a couple of those emails. One looked like it was forwarded from somebody that sent it to you. So I don't know if you guys just want to copy that kind of image, or if you want to create your own so that it obviously kind of goes to you, or, and then I don't know how the link is that, I didn't see that. I didn't go to the podcast myself personally, but I just wanted to see if it was like, what was the, so if you guys say it's helpful, I have no problem digitizing it, turning it into an email and even a text, right? So that,
Yeah.
hey, just wanted to,
Well,
she
there
did
were
this.
there were 3 or 4 specific, because he's got a lot of podcasts there. One is, obviously about, the value of Legal Shield services specifically, but there's also one that's around estate planning. There's one that was around title theft, which is,
So those were all
something people,
pre-recorded.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so they're all podcasts that are out on he's got a podcast called Is That Even Legal? So I gave you the links in the email thread that you'll see, Jeremy, on the 4 that I thought were ones that might be kind of interest to people. So yeah, so anyway, there's feedback on all of that, and I totally get, Soraya had some feedback that, the Parker Stanberry law firm might not necessarily love that it's another provider law firm providing the information, which I get that, but it also sort of cracks me up because the Parker Stanberry law firm isn't necessarily known for being particularly supportive of
It sucks, in other words.
yeah. I just like, it's just sort of like, of all law firms, they're like the least responsive to the field, and they're the most sensitive about, it's our territory.
I know
So,
it's
yeah.
funny to say that, but it's true. And my
Oh, yeah.
biggest fear is that somebody would listen to that podcast and get an expectation level for service.
Oh,
And then they'd go to Parker Stanberry and be very disappointed.
yeah, there you go. So, yeah.
Well, it might be
okay.
it might be like a, like a special note that you would maybe, add.
Put that right into your logic, Soraya. If California,
Just don't say it the way
don't
Alex
send
would say
this.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
And the disclaimer at the bottom.
Well,
It sucks.
and like every template that's available on Field Notes, you can use it or not. So
Right,
that's
right,
kind of how I
right.
look at it. It's like we
Or
make
do
things
what George
available,
does.
apply as appropriate. So
Definitely. Use it
anyway,
at your own discretion.
yeah.
And then check all the information, make sure that it doesn't have anybody else's information. If it happened to have anybody's information at the point. So yeah.
All right.
Well,
Sounds good.
I definitely thank everybody for showing up for this one. If you guys have any topics for discussion, feel free to send me that information. I'd love to know what I could help build as, information, whether if it's deep dives into action plans, whether if it's categorizing, setting up your categories so that then when you want to trigger, there's also touch points. So if you guys find yourself wanting to do touch points is more kind of like a sales kind of thing where you could use it for that, or you could use it for follow-up. But yeah, would love to like to know
Jeremy,
what your
are
challenges are.
we able to put videos in? I can't remember.
You can. I haven't played with this one little button that looks, but yeah, we've done videos. So
You can link them. There's you got to qualify that. I think, Jeremy,
I
correct me
do a
if I'm
graphic.
wrong.
I do a graphic, put like a little play button in there, and then I use
Mhm.
that as to stimulate, oh, okay, and then they click that and it links them to, if it's a YouTube short, if it's wherever it's hosted. So
Yeah.
that I can do that, but if you're talking about where they see it within the email, is that what?
No, I was just thinking, I just noticed today there was a CDLP video that I thought might be something we're wanting to put into the CRM so that when we send out, whether it be the welcome, letter or just something like that, that video is somehow embedded in the email so that they can click on it and,
Let me
and look at that.
quickly.
It's gonna be a link to wherever that video is hosted, whether it be Vimeo or YouTube or
I think this
wherever.
one was Vimeo. It was in the, the newsletter for Business Solutions, kind
Okay,
of down
so
at
you
the
can,
bottom where all the videos are housed. And I
Yep.
looked at that today, and I think it's
Mhm.
Vimeo.
yeah, you go ahead and get the Vimeo, the naked Vimeo link, not the one that comes out of email, because that's going to have a bunch of information, and they say, wow, that Allison has watched this Vimeo video 10,000 times.
She
So you
doesn't
want to make,
sleep.
yeah, so you want to make sure you're getting just the naked Vimeo link, and then you can plug that into any email that you want, as long as it's within the official site. There's no restrictions about doing that, and it's corporate information. So as long as the video is there and it's live, you can do that. The one thing you would want to do is test it, because what I found about Vimeo is that there's sometimes when you send a Vimeo link that Vimeo wants you to log in. And I don't know exactly why or which videos do that. And I don't see it all the time, but I've
So
seen that.
is this a
occasionally.
situation where that Legal Shield could come back and just like break the link, and then it
They
wouldn't
could.
be good anymore?
They could.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the point, Rick. Yeah, you're making a good point, because that was the one I made a couple of weeks ago. Is
Mhm.
if you're going to use that sort of thing, almost anything that you're pulling either off of corporate or Vimeo or whatever, every once in a while you need to check them, because they shut them down, they change them. I even had one where they the link went to a totally different video.
Yeah,
So
I
just-
make anytime I put something like that in, I make a spreadsheet so that once in a while I can go back and just see, is that video still active? Is it still good?
And then
And
in
I
the
put in
spreadsheet,
that spreadsheet, here's where here's where I used it. So
right. No, that's gonna make going back to all those emails and going all those texts and making the changes and that kind of thing. So this is
So
something.
Rick, real quick, how do you know what a naked link is? How do you differentiate?
well, when you see a link that has a question mark after the last, piece of information. So it might say vimeo.com/legal shield /this and that. And then if it has a question mark in there and then a bunch of information after that, all of that stuff is specific to however they sent it out. So that's going back to their server saying, oh, somebody just clicked on this link and now we know it came from this campaign. So that's all that specific information from wherever it got sent from. So you want to go just up to that question mark. Typically that
Okay.
will get you the naked link, or go find that video in Vimeo and use the link straight from there. But if you're
Okay,
getting it
thank
out of one of our network or our business solutions updates or something like that, or out of an email, then it's very, very likely to have all of that stuff tagged onto the end of it. So you can just go there, delete it, hit enter in your browser, and if the video still comes up and plays with what you've taken out at the end, then that's a good link, and you can take that safely to whatever place you want it to be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And that will
sure.
always remain, that will always be good, even if,
No,
Okay.
because they can potentially make it private from the server, remove it from the server, or anything of that nature. So you want to then say, okay, so I made this template, I've got this video in it. So go into a spreadsheet that you keep for that very purpose and say, here's the template that I used off of Field Notes, and here's the video or the resource, whatever it is, that I linked there from, and here's the live link that I used, that I plugged in. So now you can just go through that spreadsheet and put a date in when you last checked it. And when you see a
Yikes.
date that's too old, yeah, it's a little bit. But how many videos are you going to embed? So
Right.
hopefully not that many. So even if you had
But the
50 of
Excel is
them,
gonna make it, having that order
Right.
right there is what's gonna make the job really easy.
right.
And so I think that's what makes what takes the cake, is that this is an example of what you can do. So
Yes.
it's, please take a few minutes to watch my video here. And then this is hyperlinked, right? So this is an email where we were playing around, but this is where they would click this and then it would go to YouTube and open it up. We've done it on the phone and it does the same thing. So they see it on the phone. This kind of looks like a play button. Everybody's kind of intuitively, okay, click, and then it takes you straight to YouTube and then shows you the video. So you can do things like this all day long. Like with
and
those.
if you've got a Google account, you've got the ability to create a YouTube channel. And when you place your video up there, when you upload your video, one of the things it's going to do is ask you how you want to publish it. And what you would want to do in this case is publish it so that it's visible for everybody. So it would say anyone with a link can see this, but it's not going to publish it out there publicly on your channel. So it's not going to be on the newsstand, but if somebody knows that it's there because you sent them a link, they
They'll
can
see
view it. So
And what if
that's what you would.
what if that video has, what if it's from somebody else, which it's not your video? So there's, let's say, could be copyright, would they still block it and say, no, this is not your video, you can't? That's
Well,
the question that I would-
if you were to, for instance, download a video and then upload it to your own channel, you could have that problem. But for example, in the case of, the podcast, is that even legal podcast or something like that? As long as you're linking that original source, you're not violating their copyright. You're just letting other people. It'd be like saying, oh yeah, Jeremy wrote this book, you can get a copyright over there. It's like,
Right, so you would have
I just helped
you
you.
would have to do that so that you don't get any, slap on the wrist.
Right, exactly. But there again, you're publishing someone else's video and you don't have control over it. So any resource you publish where you don't have control of the original content, that's where you would want to put those with, even if it's a PDF file, you would put that in a document that you can go back and say, okay, I put this in and the last time I checked on it was a year ago. I just want to make sure this is still available. And you go, just click the link right there in your spreadsheet.
Right.
And
If it
bingo,
opens, it's good.
Yeah. So you
Then you
update
go to the
your,
email. Yep.
yeah, you
It's too
update
bad we couldn't
your
do
date.
something like that within field notes. So all the information that's in the library, in the, trigger, I mean, not the triggers, in the templates, all of that, where we're using that kind of stuff. If we had a spreadsheet there where we could go back and look, and somehow, I don't know how it would be maintained, but everybody would know that, yes,
it would have to be
this-
maintained. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know
would
how
either
that
have
would
to-
happen, but
You want to apply for that job, Allison?
you sound like a good candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've known
Yeah.
you for a while. You're out of Arizona. Seem
yeah,
like the
I'm like
perfect
the
person.
least likely person to do anything technical. So, but anyway, yeah.
Well, great ideas, definitely. I
Yeah.
definitely like it. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, that's probably something that we should, if we're going to use the library and we're going to use the templates, we should have some kind of like disclaimer somewhere on there, just reminding people before you send this out, just make sure that it's.
But if you're
accurate.
testing, if you're creating and testing on yourself, you're gonna immediately know, because I would assume you would click everything and you would see how it looks. Okay, this is perfect. All the links work. I'm rolling.
But what if you have a campaign going? And some of that stuff that you've used in the campaign is going to happen
I refer to the Excel.
90 days later.
I refer to the Excel and then just follow up,
Okay.
just periodically once a month, click everything to make sure everything is good. But I mean, I think for the library, we're going to have to maintain the information fresh, right? And make sure everything is, that's going to happen. We'll have to set up.
Jeremy, this is an entrepreneurial moment. So, I mean, hire some Costa Ricans that has some technical skills to be VAs.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll be the VA for the moment. But yes, Steph, if I have to delegate it, that's going to be something, but it's something to focus on to make the library
Mhm.
that much just more dependable.
Yeah.
And but if you guys got insight as to what more information, I would love to truly build it out more. I have an email with a lot of different like flat sheets, a lot of just information. But to me, I don't know what you guys physically use. And I don't want to spend a lot of time putting in stuff that no one's going to use. And I've seen that. I've seen some people are like, nope, that's no good. That's no, oh, I need that one. So
Mhm.
I don't want to put in 40 different things if only 10 will be used. And so um, I don't know how maybe we use that. Maybe we discuss that on a Monday or discuss that on another channel. Or if you guys just want to send me what you think is best, I'd love to hear what it is. And then that way we can kind of come to a
With
meeting with it.
with
Yeah.
with the frequency that things can change, I would
And do
say
change.
and do. I would say, having the few, but then really go deep into how you do that, Jeremy,
How
so
I
that
create the
it
emails.
how
Oh,
you
okay.
create them, really in depth of, okay, here's how I pull the picture out of the PDF and how I put it here, and here's how I make sure that the formatting stays nice in the email versus in the PDF file. And oh, here's the logic that I used in deciding this part goes at the top, this part goes here, and this part was on the right, but I'm going to put it underneath. So
Mhm.
whatever logic you're using, so that people can just follow that, then they can create their own, because as you say, you don't know what people are going to use. So I find a PDF that I think is amazing, and maybe Allison thinks it stinks, or it's just
Right.
like, I wouldn't use that particular one.
And that happens. Some guys
Yes,
are just
absolutely.
CDLP and that's all they look at. They don't need any of the
Yeah.
other stuff. So
Yeah. They might be
they might
picky
have
as
to build.
Bob, or, you just never, you never know.
I don't
So
know.
that,
Not as
So
picky as that guy.
I was going to make the statement that, Jeremy and logic, I don't know that you want to put those together in a sense.
that's right.
Thank you,
So,
Bob.
but at
Thank
any,
you, Bob.
yeah, yeah.
I'm here for you,
Okay.
bro.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. We go to the same
Yeah.
barber.
But at any rate, that way you're not creating so many things, because you can really get bogged down in that. And as has already been recognized, everything that you do like that, you just created yourself a maintenance job of, oh, did the
Follow up.
company now update this particular document? And a video, if they take it down, or a PDF, they take it down, oh, okay, that one's may not be good. I might need to find a new one. But if they just tweak it, if they just change it, now you've got another scenario on your hands. So you really create a big potential mess. So.
But here's the beauty. This is the community that we've created with Legal Shield. And so that's the stuff that we would share with everybody. If somebody found something not working,
Mhm.
or, something had come down, this is a
Yeah.
great place to, to share it with everybody, or get in touch with Jeremy and, let him know. So that's the beauty of this whole field notes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wouldn't be bad, Jeremy. This is just a thought that occurred to me based on what Allison said, to have a place where we could go in, and let's say, Allison, you sent out an email, or you started to send an email, and you found out that a document had changed, or you noticed that a document had been updated or replaced or something like that. You could post that in there, so anybody could post and say, hey, I found this change. And then you can kind of hopefully scan through and say, oh, I'm using that one, so I
It's
better
kind of
go
like the
update.
Slack channel. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, food for thought, right? Anything that we can
Mhm.
make it better and make it easier for you guys to just sign up and upload data and get the work in is kind of
Mhm.
how I would like to plan it out. So
Yeah.
definitely something to take to the developers and see if we can make a little bit better. But yes, it's going to be an ongoing job. I have no problem maintaining it if that's the case. And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I definitely thank you
Yep.
guys for your insight and you know, once again, any topics of discussion that you guys find yourself in that you would like to bring it to me so that we can then, you know, bring it out to the peoples. Alrighty, guys. I thank everybody
Thank
for
you.
showing up.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day. It was a pleasure. Alrighty,
Bye
everybody.
bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.